Well, hello. It's wow. It's Monday night. Wow, it's just been a crazy weekend with Gen Con and everything. Uh, Gen Con Online, which I know a lot of you have probably paid attention to, has well, I mean, it came and went, and it was amazing. Just the fact that they could put all of that together. It's nice that events are doing some online things to make some of this work at least. So that's always a good feeling. So yeah, hey Jan, hey Janine, Kristen. So thanks for joining me tonight. And I don't know how many of you saw some of the Gen Con stuff. And oh, Elizabeth, hey. And yeah, it was. I guess it all started with the comedy cabaret on Thursday. That was just a lot of different performers coming together, and I put they sent their videos in, and I put them all together and streamed that on Life's Affair, and it was pretty crazy trying to get all of that going. Because yeah, the tough part about doing things like that, because Blee and I, we normally only work on two performers on Thursdays. This was what, 10 performers, so it was a lot more communication to try to get that going. And it was interesting because they all sent in different videos, different resolutions, different quality, different audio levels, and trying to put all that together. That's where a lot of the challenge comes from. And I don't know if everybody realizes that, but it just trying to make it seem seamless to go from performer to performer. That's an interesting challenge. But I think it went really well. Everybody seemed to be happy with it, and it was a good time. And then, of course, my show on Friday night and Saturday afternoon, which was a lot of fun. I hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, it was really good. Oh, and I also helped out my old bandmate Mark Gunn with his Firefly drinking songs show, and I added some bits of my own in there and edited the video and put all that together and then streamed it out for him. And that was an interesting time too. Definitely different. And yeah, I noticed all of you are checking in with Lee about her situation because she's got the tropical storm heading her way. Well, she's saying hurricane. I think it'll be a tropical storm by the time it reaches her too. So that's what I've been seeing, and I know you're all worried, and I hope everything works out for Lee. But I mean, considering all the stuff she's survived when it comes to hurricanes, I know she's got this covered. She is an expert when it comes to that kind of thing. If I have an issue or I'm worried about a hurricane and I want advice, I ask her. She knows what she's doing. But yeah, but thanks, Jen. Yeah, it was a really fun weekend. It was interesting. So yeah, I like that. But it was tiring because there were a lot of shows. I was just doing show in just a few days, and it was pretty crazy. Of course, at the same time, what's going on is DragonCon is coming up in about a month, and the deadline for submitting some of the videos for that event happened the same weekend Gen Con was going on. So trying to get all that together, that was interesting too. And after that, then recording the podcast. And for those of you on our Patreon page, I know you have probably checked out the podcast already. It is, yeah, I think it's pretty good. I tried to think, we did the Gen Con show, so I was kind of thinking how do we adapt to that? And I thought, well, let's interview some Faire performers who did Gen Con as well, and we have that kind of crossover. So I got with Paulo Garbanzo, the juggler, and April Knight, and both who have been on our show before. So that was a lot of fun. And talking with them about what it's like to play at a convention versus a Ren Fair, and a little bit about what they prefer, and just some good anecdotes and stories about that. And it's always fun to talk to them. So that was good. But a good time. And so yeah, I guess actually thinking about it, I had a really crazy busy weekend. Not too bad at all. I don't know. What did all of you do for your weekends? Was it a lot of fun? Now, if you all took breaks and just chilled and relaxed and read a good book, I'm going to be insanely envious because, gosh, I just didn't have the time to do that. That's actually sounds pretty nice. Not gonna lie. Yeah, let's see. While you're throwing out that, I guess uh, the podcast will be released in general tomorrow. So take a look at for that. And I think we're also going to release the video part of the podcast in general to the public, um, just to kind of show you what the video podcast is kind of like. Because for those people who aren't on the Patreon, they don't really know. And it does offer a very interesting, different perspective to get to be able to see everybody's face while they're talking. It is kind of nice. So I think you'd like it. A lot of fun. Did you went to the new Fiddler's Green in Lockhart? Okay, I did miss that. Okay, Jan, tell us what the Fiddler's Green in Lockhart was, because that's an interesting lateral move for them to go out there. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Fiddler's Green, which I assume is what she's talking about, is a music shop in Austin that sells some very a good a good list of folk instruments, everything from fiddles and harps to banjos and uh, folk guitars and a little bit of everything. And they're actually not very far from me, or at least they weren't. But Lockhart, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine that's a kind of southeast of Austin. Um, I don't know. Now, it is popular for some music shops to, especially the niche music shops, to kind of go to the small towns outside of the cities, kind of create their own little oasis of culture there. I know a lot of music shops that have done that in the past, so this isn't that strange, but it's interesting that it went to Lockhart. Ah, okay. So some people bought it and then moved it closer to them. That's interesting. Ooh, and I'm sorry, Elizabeth. Yeah, you had some trouble with your knee. That's never fun. Wow, and Janine did a lot of things. Okay. Well, still sounds like you had an interesting weekend at the very least. Yeah, I do remember Ben, the manager at Fiddler's Green. Huh. Well, cool. Honestly, I think it might be an interesting move for them if they promote it right, because I really think, like I said, that having carving out a little artistic oasis in a smaller town, it's worked well. Uh, some of the folk music shops have done a good job with that. People will travel there just for the shop, and then you get sometimes can get a bit of a tourist trade out there depending on where it is. Oh, and Melanie adopted a cat. Well, that's nice. Hmm. Hmm. And Elizabeth is still, yeah, just some random hurting around your kneecap. Ooh, that's never. That could be so many things. Uh, that's never good. Ugh. Well, we all wish you luck, Elizabeth. I hope it works out. And yeah, Kristen said, okay, so I didn't actually know that about Lockhart. Kristen's saying that a lot of artists are moving to Lockhart because Austin is so expensive, and it is. It really is. I'm in a lucky situation, or I don't know if I'd be able to afford it. Yeah, that's that makes sense. I mean, Lockhart is the artistic area outside of Austin. Interesting. Uh, I guess that makes sense. Hmm. Ooh, never fun. Never fun. But yes, let's see. Our upcoming show on Thursday, I should mention that, is uh, we're going to have E.J. Jones, Piper Jones band. He's playing with one of his bandmates, and that should be really good because he is one of the best pipers in the country, and really, really good. So that should be exciting. Then we're also going to have Dan the Bard. So we're getting somebody a little over from somebody from uh, who was at Gen Con and does play fairs too. So we had an interesting crossover and good transition from Gen Con last weekend to this week. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun because EJ is he's such a great musician, and yeah, and I've already seen the video and it is great. You're going to love it. Then Dan the Bard is, I don't know, they have such different styles. I think it's going to be a good pairing simply because of the sort of yin and yang approach to it. They are very different, and I think it's going to work out well. Oh, and Jan got a bowed sultry. Oh wow. Yeah, the Owlbear song. I think he's doing that one again in the new show, so I think that one you'll get to hear it again and get it stuck in your head once again. Uh, but yeah, he definitely is. He's an interesting musician. I think the thing about Dan the Bard, which always he took the Bard as opposed to going the historical Bard route, he went the fantasy Bard route, and it's interesting because you don't normally see that, especially not in professional music in any way. So he kind of carved his own sort of niche from that. So going to Gen Con makes a lot of sense for him, but he can also do it at Renaissance fairs. And yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. So, and he's a good musician, so it's a win-win. Because yeah, some of the songs will get stuck in your head. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great Thursday show. So definitely check that out. It's going to be a fun gathering, I think. Uh, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Now, oh, I guess we have so many good. Still trying to get past Gen Con and do all of that. Um, so many good things coming up in the pipeline, but we're kind of in the a middle of that now. So we'll probably have more to talk about that in a week or so. Uh, yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, and Kristen's saying she's surprised she doesn't see more fantasy bards. You know, I've thought the same thing. Uh, I always thought, well, back in the day, I mean, that was a thought of mine briefly that I thought uh, maybe I should have gone that route. This was a long time ago, but it was an option at back at the time. But no, I mean, I generally always thought of going the Irish bard route because it is very much me. Uh, Fantasy bard route was, uh, I mean, I like gaming and I like doing that kind of thing, but musically, I don't know. It was more like the exception as opposed to the rule for me. So I do some things that would fit with the fantasy bard route, but it's just it doesn't dominate my repertoire or my interests as much to justify going that route. And I wonder if other people feel the same way, if that's why. It's kind of interesting that people would, because I think they normally have more of a interest in a particular type of music and they kind of focus on that. Where fantasy music is a little more, it's, well, I mean, it's sort of folk music or Irish music, but then the lyrics tend to be more fantasy based. And yes, I was about to tell Lee's commenting about that I can tell people that we are looking for artists and makers to work for an upcoming show, and that is true. That is true. I was going to mention that. that is going to be interesting because I don't know how much I can really say about it, Lee. Though, but yeah, if you have any suggestions, any artists, artisans, makers, crafters, anything that you think would is just really the process of what they do is just really cool. They make some really cool things. If you know anybody like that, please let us know. You feel free to throw out suggestions right here if you'd like, or you can email us. That is perfectly all right too. You can email. I guess would be the best route. Social at lifesaffair.com would work for us. So yeah, Maris would be an interesting choice. Jan is suggesting Maris, who is a painter artist, possibly, possibly. She might be interesting in that regard. Definitely on my list. It is a good idea. I mean, it can be artists, it can be woodworkers, leather workers. I mean, anything that uh, glass blowers, anything like that. That is just where people go through a process to make something, and it is a something that blurs the line between skill and art. That's how I always look at it, anyway. Yeah, Maris is just an interesting character on her own. She is one of those people uh, who is definitely an artist, a free spirit, but also just a fascinating personality. Very much so. Yeah, social@lifesaffair.com. Yeah, once you start getting 20 email addresses, it starts to get a little confusing sometimes. I don't know how many of you can relate to that, but this day and age, I think a lot of more people can than used to. Uh, yeah, email addresses gets a little nuts. When you usually have email addresses for every website you have, and other email addresses for different reasons, it can be a little nuts. Wow. Had the audio. Janine is talking about a guy who works for Paleo Solutions, had the audiobook of The Hobbit memorized. Wow. Yeah, okay. That's one route to go. Um, very, very Fahrenheit 451 to to memorize books, but I like it. Oh, and Lee is totally right. If you don't follow Maris, you should check her out on social media. I don't know if you have a link for that, Lee, if you could post that, because that would be great. She is very much worth following. And yes, Jan's asking about TRF, and yeah, I did see that TRF is planning on opening at the moment. Um, they announced it, so we'll see what happens. I mean, because this is the point where backlash starts happening, so we'll see. It could, but somebody like TRF, if they're announcing, I have to think that they've worked closely with the county and have been doing that. So I'm guessing they probably have permission because they are not in Houston. Uh, yeah, they are not in Harris County, so that makes it a little easier. And yeah, I totally understand how y'all feel about that. That opening just sounds a little a little nuts to me too. I don't know. I think that's we'll see. We'll see. I did not read what all they are doing to try to make it safe, but if it's like some of the other events that have gone on, if they get 200 people in the door, maybe they can do it. They've got enough space to really social distance. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of with y'all. I wouldn't be comfortable going either. It is a, whoo, it is a rough decision, but they are just We're not out of the woods yet. So that's kind of how I look at it. Okay, she posted, Lee just posted the link to Maris's page. And she's an artist who, it's going to be like this. You're going to look at her work and you're just going to fall in love with it, or it's not going to be your thing. I can't imagine there being a neutral middle ground. That's everything I've noticed when people go in and see her for the first time. It's one of those things. She has definitely her own style and her own quality. Yeah, and Merrick's commenting on the TRF stuff. Yeah, we'll see. We will see how that goes. Like I said, they just announced it, so we'll see how people respond and how how everybody does respond. I mean, like DragonCon, I mentioned that earlier. They already decided they're not doing it, and they're doing the online thing only. And I think that is a wise decision. Now, it is easier, of course, for a convention to do an online show than it is for a Ren Fair. But certainly a Ren Fair could do it if they really wanted to. And I'm actually surprised by that. I'm surprised that more Ren Fairs haven't tried to do an online version of themselves, considering what Comic Con did a little over a week ago and Gen Con did last week. It's definitely doable, and uh, in some ways, it's easier for a Ren Fair than it is for a convention. So I don't know. It's kind of strange. A few fairs have tried to go that route, but not many. Not many. Yeah. Oh, yeah. At least commenting on her book, and that is very interesting and amazing too. So definitely worth checking out if you'd like to read somebody's uh, thoughts and musings. That it is she's great at that. Definitely something to check out. A lot of fun. Oh, and Andrew's talking about on YouTube is talking about Comic Con could have done a better job of marketing their online, and Sherwood did a good job with the weekend streams. And yes, Comic Con I think definitely could have done a better job of marketing. Now, to be fair, I think they kind of a lot of this stuff was very last minute. Most of these conventions they spend over a year working on it and planning for their events. So all of a sudden they decide we're not doing it. We're putting an online thing together, and we've got a month or two to do it. And I think a lot of the groups this year are going to get a pass in general because I don't think they've really um, they don't I mean it is very last minute, and people are understanding that this was a labor of love. They wanted to just get something up, something that would work. And so I think that's kind of it. Now, Sherwood, they did a good job with the weekend streams, but it was just using pre-existing footage for the most part that they already had. They were very fortunate that they got a group out to record some video that they were going to use for promotional material and all that. And so they had professional video of a lot of different shows. And mostly that's what they were showing. So it makes it a lot easier when you've already got most of the material in the can, and all you have to do is just put it up as a video and release it. So yeah, I mean they were in a very lucky situation where they already had the content, and they didn't have to create new stuff. It gets a lot more difficult if you're trying to create new stuff with groups and vendors remotely, and even worse, trying to do a live stream or something. That can be tough too, which a lot of people have found out is not easy. And Lee is saying that not everyone has access to their own Andrew. Yeah, well, I try. But to be fair, I can do some of the tech stuff, but you also need to be able to have a good marketing plan and to really be able to handle a lot of the organizational structure. And that's where having a Lee comes in handy, because honestly, if I had to do this all myself, there's no way in the world. No way. I couldn't do this. I would just be streaming something to 5 people or so, it wouldn't work. Lee is definitely the an important cog in that as well. And I think there are plenty of fairs who don't know how to do online marketing. I don't think they really know the ins and outs. Their idea of online marketing is having a website and putting up the schedule and some pictures, and that's about it. Maybe throwing up a post occasionally on Facebook reminding people, hey, fair is going to come up next week or something. And yeah, so that is an important part of it. Yeah, and Lee is talking about Sterling, and yeah, from the previews I've seen, they do seem pretty well done. I haven't seen anything from Sterling either, and I really want to. It should be interesting. And yeah, Michelle's talking about the work they did for the intros, and that's true. I did hear about that they did end up doing a lot of work for the intros. But imagine if you had to do the intros and all of the content as well and try to put all that together. So yeah, I mean, you still did a lot of work, but trying to do all of that would have been even more nightmarish. So yeah, I almost prohibitively. And I think that allowed them to do as well as they did. And the video quality was, of course, very good because they had professional video for the shows, and they had the time to work with y'all and really put those 5-minute segments together and spend days on it. And a lot of places wouldn't have that time. They'd be working on the shows more than the intros, so they couldn't concentrate on it. And I think that's where that House of Cards problem happens, where you're only as strong as the weakest link in there. And Sherwood already had a lot of strong things going in, so they could concentrate on some of the lesser things. And I'm not saying the intros were lesser, but they weren't as long, so that helped a lot. Oh yeah, Kristen, I didn't. Yeah, did you help Zane do some of the writing? I did not even know that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, yeah, and your production is insane. Lee is totally right that. I mean, getting the word out and doing all this stuff is so important, but the production, it's really scary when you're trying to promote something and you've got to try to make the quality as good as you can of what you're promoting. Because if you're promoting something and saying how great it's going to be, and then it turns out to be not so great, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. It's a problem. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure if Piper Gunn did the recording or not. I know he did do some recording up there, but I don't know if it was for that. I'm not 100% sure on that. Um, yeah, I mean, I know Jason talked about doing some recording up there, but uh, okay, he was doing the recording. And yeah, Jan's right. Kristen should definitely get writing consultant credit because, I mean, that's what a production's all about. It takes a lot of people to make this work. It really does. Um, I mean, honestly, the fact that Lee and I do as well as we do with mainly just the two of us, yeah, that's where you just give up sleep. But that's part of what our digital team is all about, trying to work with people and get that process going where we have a team to get some of this done and really make it work. But yeah, totally. Uh, but yeah, no, I think that uh, this is such an interesting year. I know that it's scary, crazy, worrisome, troubling, and all of that. I, but at the same time, everything is getting so pushed forward. I mean, by the end of this year, we're going to be 10 years ahead of where we would have been otherwise in how people deal with online content. I mean, it's really interesting that how many things have been affected by this as far as technology. It it's an interesting process, and I think that I've said this before on videos, but really, online streaming is here to stay. I think any event in the future is going to have an online streaming component to it, regardless of what it is. It would be nuts not to. It really would at this point. And yes, Kristen says that I don't want it to be interesting anymore. I hope 2021 is boring. I I hope it's boring in some ways, Kristen. I'll say that. I definitely don't want it to be interesting in the troubling sense. But I do think interesting as in the having a lot of new things happening that are good things and a lot of change, some of it, at least a good bit of it for the good. I think that would be nice. I'm okay with that continuing because really, I have been so productive in the last 4+ months. It's, oh gosh, it's like 4.5 months now. That's just nuts. Yeah, one of these days I'm going to take a vacation. It'll be crazy. I won't know what to do with myself. I'll probably sleep. But but yeah, it's just I don't know. Actually, I have a question for all of you. This is a big one. What as far as the streaming and everything, how much of that would you like to see in shows in the future? I mean, would you like to see like Sherwood Forest Fair have an online streaming component to Fair next year? Would I mean, would you like Gen Con and Dragon Con to have online shows, like the shows that they have be streamed online as well, so you can watch that during the convention next year? How much, what kind of things would you like to see in combination? Because I think it's been interesting. I really, a lot of this has been, and I use interesting in the best possible way, uh, not to be, not to minimize the horrible things that have happened this year, but I really think it's going to be an interesting time. And I'm just going to stop using that word. Yeah, and Kristen says that yeah, Sherwood having some sort of video component herself. I really think that would be a cool thing, considering that they have a decent internet connection out there. There are some possibilities. And that's true. Yeah, Merrick's saying that, you'd like to watch some of the stuff again, and you could do that. You could just have video feeds that take it and then they re-show it later. I mean, I don't know. Is it something you would do? Would you actually do a pass where uh, you could get a ticket, or you could get a ticket plus, so that um, a ticket that you spend a little more for, but it grants you access to an online site where you can see the shows from that weekend again, or something like that. Uh, or just have it where it shows them automatically, where with your ticket you get access to the shows as well without having to pay more. I don't know. I mean, there's lots of options there. And Jan's talking about how intimidated by Dragon Con. Yeah, I mean, people with anxiety issues where a large group of people is just too upsetting. Yeah, this is brilliant and gold. It's hard to beat that. I really think so. I really do. And I agree with Lee. I wouldn't want to see the whole thing online, but certainly an online component. Um, I don't know. Part of me thinks that shows should, at least at some stages, should be streamed live. Part of me thinks maybe just recorded and then put online for later viewing, like an archive where you can go back and see the cool parts of the day. Because there's always that one thing that you see on this at this one show when you go to a fair, and it was hilarious, and being able to watch it again, that would actually be really cool. I would like that. And you're right. I think that being able to watch some of the shows that you missed, Elizabeth is talking about that. Um, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you're right, Jeremy. Living in interesting times, sort of an old curse. Oh, and Lee put up the event for this week's gathering. So yeah, please check that out right now if you can. Follow that link and go ahead and invite your friends. Invites are an interesting thing in Facebook. I don't know how much all of you are familiar with it, but invites make a huge difference in in getting people to an event. A lot more than I think is commonly understood. So that's one of the best things you can do. I mean, sharing the event when it's out is great and it helps and all of that. But yeah, if you can go ahead and do invite your friends, oh wow, it's wonderful. Yeah, yeah. Jeremy's talking about the free Gen Con shows. That's one thing I tried to do because I was worried about I wasn't sure how many people were going to be doing the Gen Con online and buying tickets and going through all that because it is a new thing and a new dynamic. That's why I made my shows free. I thought it would be, I thought it'd be better. I thought it would just, I mean, as far as the money part goes, yeah, I didn't sell tickets, so I didn't get income from that. But I thought, well, I'll tell people that and say, hey, if you can tip me, I'd appreciate it because I did make this a free show. And honestly, I think I probably made about the same amount either way. So it was totally worth it. And I think more people got to see it. So that's always a win. Yeah, and Lee's asking what kind of virtual events would y'all want to see? And that's a very good question. I would love to hear the answer to this. She's saying concerts, are the obvious. What else would you find interesting? Because yeah, virtual events that for fairs, for conventions, for anything. Now, personally, I like workshops. I think doing workshops where you get to learn something is great. How to do stuff. Sort of like the whole going and seeing some like how they made coins back in the day, the old TRF money press thing. But just seeing things like that might be kind of interesting too, in sort of a Discovery Channel sort of way. But um, I think Kristen's commenting on when we did that game of choices, and that was a fun experiment. We looked at it, and we're still kind of looking at how to adapt that. And Jeremy's saying that tip money is sweeter than direct show pay. I, yes, I never really looked at it that way. I see your point, Jeremy. Though, I mean, you're kind of right because it is more of a recognition of this is for you. This is sort of our version of approval, which is great, and gratitude. So I guess certainly better for the ego, but I don't know. I've never really looked at shows that way. I always go into a show just enjoying it and having fun playing music. I have to remind myself to actually ask for tips. I'm very bad at it because it's never on the forefront of my mind while I'm playing or performing. It just never occurs to me. I'm just having fun. So I don't know. But yeah, I do see your point. It has been very strange looking. Gen Con is a weird animal in that how they sell tickets for each individual show for at least a lot of them, and it's been very hard for me to get used to, most assuredly. But I too understand the rationale that they have for it because it certainly is an interesting, profitable way to go about a convention. Now, a smaller con couldn't get away with that, but when you get to a certain size, okay, I would do things differently if it was me, but I do understand. Oh, and Jan's commenting about the history stories of what that was like. History stories, I think, are kind of rough because it is, you have to make that interesting. So you almost needed like a produced documentary where you have, or you have actors doing their thing and doing history reenacting. I mean, it has to have to be done really well. I think it'd be great if you can do it really well, and we are looking at things like that. And Janine's saying falconry, magic, stage combat, tech theater side of cast shows. Okay. Falconry, certainly that could be done. I mean, you can do you could do some really cool things with falconry. You know, I really wonder how falcons would react to drones. If they would be bothered or intimidated by them, or if a drone would work with a falcon. Because imagine getting a drone to follow a bird show and go around them and film in flight, like almost like a wingman going around. I'm just gonna let that marinate for a while. And I agree with Kristen, getting up more up close with the falconers and the birds. I really think that would be pretty cool. I think getting up close and having some really good video of it would be good. And she's thinking behind the scenes. Huh. I mean, there's so many uh, options for behind the scenes. I mean, you can almost do it behind the scenes with anything. You could do it with, uh, you could do it, you could do it with the bird shows. You could do it with any of the workshops or events. I mean, you could do it with the music shows. I mean, there's a lot of routes you can go with that. And uh, while I think some of them would not be good ideas, there are several ways that are valid. I mean, you could do it before the show, right before, as like a preview pre-show. You could do it as a special event that chronicles it afterwards that people can watch. You can do it as a total separate event. Yeah, I don't know. If the birds could be trained for drones, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I just thought that that point of view from a drone, filming wise, would be pretty sweet if you could pull it off. Yeah, I do need to work on my tip speeches. For me, I love playing music and I enjoy it, and that's my concentration. But I'll get better. I'm definitely better than I was. Oh my gosh, a few years ago, it was bad. Oh right, yes, there are a lot of good things, good places that it would be great to take a camera. And good for you, Michelle. But yeah, I mean, Michelle, she's such a dynamic person, talking at fair and just having a great time, and uh, she's hilarious. So that does help. So good suggestion, Kristen. Uh, okay, and that's sort of the trick. And Andrew on YouTube is saying that it sounds dangerous. Well, maybe it might. It might be. I don't know. The whole drone thing. I mean, you could always take it a lot higher up and just get kind of a sky view of everything. So you're so high up, the birds might ignore it because it's too far away. You could just, instead of being close, you could just look at it as a different perspective. Oh gosh, bard tipping is the new cow tipping. Let's not go there. Oh mercy, that could be a scary bit for sure. I know you are, Lee. I know you like that idea. Yeah, yeah. I have way too much. I'm wearing way too many instruments. That scares me a little. Not good. Not good. You guys. You guys. But no, I mean, I think there's a lot of possibilities here. Um, So many cool events. Cool things to see online and video wise. And that's sort of that is a lot of what we were working on, trying to get a lot of this stuff together into where we have a lot of different things y'all can watch every week, and that's the goal. And it's coming. It's coming along. I Right now we're just expanding our group and our production capacity and ability, and there'll be some cool stuff. Well, okay, okay. Well, if we can't do the drone, we can't do the drone. That's how I'll say that. I thought about the bird's eye view of the birds joke, Elizabeth, and I decided not to do it I'm glad you did. I'm glad you got that in. Yeah, the one thing about Fair that you wish we could capture in the virtual realm. Hmm. 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 Wow, that's a tough one. I know what I would kind of like. It sounds weird, but I'd actually like that front gate experience. Because one of the coolest things for me going into Fair is walking through front gate, because you're just kind of standing out in front gate in the morning before opening gate, and you're just kind of being bored and chilling, and then everything opens, and they have maybe a little opening show, and then the gates open, and you just start walking in, and there's all of this noise and cool stuff everywhere. People are juggling, people are playing music, I mean, it's like walking into a fair, and you get that sudden bombardment of of frolicsome fun. So yeah, and then Jan just agreed with me. Yes, yes, cool. We think alike. Awesome. That's exactly it, because it really just that's sort of the thing. That'd be tough to capture. I think it would be doable, but I think it would be difficult. It'd be difficult for sure. So Kristen's saying some of the work that they do off season, and yeah, that would be kind of interesting. Uh, it would certainly have to be time lapsed, because there's a lot that goes into that. And Andrew's saying canon uh, over on YouTube. Yeah, how to canon would be interesting. Morning canon. And I'm definitely not talking about the animated canon that you see on other pages. No, definitely something more real. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I could definitely I could definitely get with some people on that. I know a guy, because everybody at Ren Fair should have a canon guy, right? Like you do. Gotta have a canon guy. And I'm not just talking about Pokeball. Frolicsome fun, writing that down. I just made that up, so I don't know. I hope that works. And yeah, I think Kristen's right that fair is where outsiders feel like they belong, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So trying to capture that community feeling of belonging where everybody's welcome, I think that is huge. That is a huge thing. So yeah, I completely agree with that. Hmm. So yes, okay. So capturing that moment of wonderment and belonging at the same time. I mean, how can you just be so amazed by what's around you yet feel like you belong there? It's an odd dynamic that is hard to replicate. Right there with you, Kristen, about groaning to Pachelbel. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally. Total groan moment. Um, oh, right. Yeah, if you're hearing one of my roommates, he's not dying. Not yet, anyway. He's, remember I told you that one of my roommates was a Twitch streamer? That's him. He's playing a game on Twitch right now in one of the other rooms, and occasionally he streams himself doing it, and he sometimes gets pretty loud. I think that's fair. Yeah. Yep, you're right. It's gaming. So yeah, just in case you're curious, how you how it's possible to tweak your connection. I've got a roommate streaming at 6.5 megabits per second upload to Twitch, while I'm streaming here to both YouTube and Facebook. So you just got to know what you're doing. And yes, Kristen, you do win a prize. You do. You guessed correctly. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, he's very enthusiastic. And believe me, it's better than it used to be. He used to be in one of the other rooms, and he finally switched recently. And oh my gosh, it was... in the other room, he was very loud. Gosh, I even tried to dampen the sound, but it's still... Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out some other stuff, because he's still way too loud. I'm going to have to work on that. Well... But it is a lot more quiet than it used to be. I think Lee can attest to that. She's heard him when we were talking and planning before. Yeah, it got pretty nuts. It really did. But he has a lot of fun with it, and that's good. And Andrew is saying, Andrew on YouTube is saying, good cover. Yeah, we'll go with that. Yes. No, it's actually Twitch streaming. Yeah, I should probably try to find his... get his Twitch stream link and share that with y'all at some point. Y'all might get a kick out of that. He's a weird guy, but yeah, he's fun. Yeah, honestly, I have to say, as much as he yells into his microphone throughout gaming, and he does that for hours, that might be a part of the reason, on my side at least, Lee, why we don't stream to Twitch. I might be a little biased just because of that. Yeah, because it's just kind of like Twitch. Isn't that where people yell into their mics? I don't want to go there, so I might be overly biased. Jeremy is saying we could all go there and post shh. I like that. Okay. Well. I don't have his link handy. I don't really do Twitch, so I'll have to find that out. But maybe next time I can put something together. I'll try to get that together. I think that might be funny. That would be pretty hilarious. But yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, that is one thing about the whole last 4.5 months for me. I know a lot of people have taken some of the time and, played games, and they've been getting some of their games in, and I haven't been able to do that at all. I really haven't played a thing. Yeah, the Twitch invasion of 2020, according to Jeremy, that is very accurate. People have been playing games and getting on Twitch a lot. It's sort of like everybody else who's been streaming. Twitch has had a huge explosion too of use, and I think it's been that kind of year. It has really been that kind of year. Oh, Lee has an interesting idea. a Nat 21 Twitch stream invasion. Yeah, but they're also on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook. We could just invade there. You really want to go to Twitch and concentrate on that? Wouldn't Facebook be a lot easier? I guess we could do both. Be interesting. Okay, well, mark that down, Lee. We'll see. We'll see about that. That sounds good. Sounds very good. Well, I think we're coming up on an hour here, so probably should go ahead and call this in a second. Thanks for hanging out tonight, and always a pleasure. And thanks for the ideas. Y'all really helped a lot. This was good info. I think we're going to be Lee and I are going to be having a meeting here and talking about this, and definitely going over some things. There's a lot to think about. But yeah, I think really good time. And yeah, she's asking where y'all would rather invade. So Facebook or Twitch. So where would you go? Would most of you prefer Twitch, or would most of you prefer Facebook? Because yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, didn't it go fast, Kristen? That hour went really fast. It does. That time really does fly. Yeah, I don't have a Twitch account either, Kristen, so I totally understand. I can still hear my roommate. I may have to I'm tempted to just take a mic in there, just to do a remote mic. Sounds good. Okay, let's check that out and make this happen. I like it. Okay, thanks everyone. It's been a blast, and I guess I'll go ahead and call it here, and I'll see you Thursday. A lot of good stuff coming up.